One of the most important features of the Vital Bracelet Digital Monster is that you can use these little chips called DiM cards to raise new rosters of Digimon on your device. I have Infinite Tide here as well as Titan of Dust, and those allow me to raise aquatic Digimon, like this Pokemon, and desert-themed Digimon, like this Tsunamon. And I can even take the same DiM card, plug it back into my device, and choose to overwrite one of my existing Digimon to raise a new one. The thing I can't do, however, is take my wife's device here, plug that DiM in, and choose to overwrite one of her Digimon. And that is because this DiM, as we know, is locked to the first Vital Bracelet that you pair it to. And this is something I've been complaining about from the very beginning. I don't agree with Bandai's decision to do this, and I get that it's supposed to be anti-piracy, but the thing is that you wouldn't expect two people in the same household to buy two copies of the exact same video game. In addition, this creates a problem because eventually every DiM is going to get used, and that means that if someone were to buy a new Vital Bracelet and wanted a DiM of a specific variety, if they're just all used up, they're just all used up, meaning that at some point, once Bandai stops supporting these, it would be impossible for anyone to really get into them. The good news is, though, is that of course the community didn't like this, and they started trying to find ways to get around this. And very recently, there are a couple users on Twitter that managed to find a fantastic method that doesn't require any extra hardware and is completely on the device itself. Those users are Pseudo the Carolinx and Coffee9. Both of them worked to create well, they didn't create the method, but they found the method. This is probably an official method for doing this and what Bandai would expect to do themselves if they needed to reset a DiM, as it's found in the debug menu on the device. But these users went in, they found that debug menu, and they found the specific sequence you need to do in order to reset your DiM card to allow it to be paired to a new Vital Bracelet. This is very important, this is huge, and I want to make sure everyone knows how to do this in case you, for whatever reason, get locked out of your DiM cards, or you're just like me and you have two people in your household that want to be able to use the same DiM, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to. So there are two versions of these steps, and I'm going to be going over the steps for firmware 20.1125. And you may be asking yourself, well, how do I know which version of the firmware I have? So let's go ahead and start getting into that. So right now, this Infinite Tide is locked to this device. So we're going to go ahead and move this device out here, and I'll prove that it's locked here just to make sure that you can see. I'm going to take out that Titan of Dust as well, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and we're going to see, okay, so let's go ahead and erase that, and no, it failed right away. So what we'll want to do before we actually check anything whatsoever, because this process, if you don't do it correctly, will result in you factory resetting your device. And that's not a big deal, especially if you have the app. If you have the app, you can just back up any Digimon that you want to save beforehand to the app. So we're going to do that here real quick. I'm just going to show you, just make sure that you know this process. So if I choose to do the watch to the phone, and I go over here and I go to my app menu, and we're going to hit the button, the touch, we're going to put them back to back, or front to back, I guess. There we go. Connecting, says I can release it. And there we go. Little Tsunamon has been backed up to the app for safekeeping, so we don't have to worry about losing it. After this process, we will be able to move it back, even if we factory reset first. So you don't have to worry about losing whatever Digimon you may be raising. Now, this is blank right now, of course, but we still cannot plug in this Infinite Tide, and we still get the failure message. So go ahead and zoom in here a little bit so you can see the exact process and how this is going to go. All right. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to turn the device completely off. And this is where we're going to find out what our firmware version is. Now, I've got the device off here ready to go, but before you follow along with this or anything, I highly recommend watching all these steps first and then going back and doing this yourself. So we're going to go ahead and start by checking our firmware. To do that, we hold down both buttons. We turn on the device, we'll hear a sound after we turn it on. When we hear that sound, we hit the bottom button, which is the B button, 4 times. And there we go, there's the firmware screen. As you can see here, we'll wait for it to go back there. The white number is your firmware, so 20.1125. So that means 2020, November 25th. That's when this firmware, I guess, was finalized and shipped. So there we go, so now we know our firmware. If you have the same firmware, you'll be able to follow this video to reset your DiM. If you do not have the same firmware, if for example you have firmware 21.0225, which is February 25th, 2021, then you will need to follow a different set of steps. Now, in the description, I do have all of these steps listed as found by those users I mentioned before. So make sure to read that through as well before you do this. That's going to help you out a lot. So I know which version I have now, so now I can proceed with the next steps. The next things that I need to do is I'm going to need to hit the B button to move forward to the training icon. Now, on the training icon, I'm going to push A, and I'm going to push B twice. Every time you want to hit the B twice, you want to do it kind of quickly, just to be safe. Now we're at the Tamer rank icon, so we're going to hit A. We see a red screen, and we want to go through all the way until we see white. Now, just so you know, this is cyan right here, not white, kind of tricks you. And there we go, there's the white screen. So we're at the white screen, we're going to hit B twice. Okay, now we're at the brightness. We're going to hit the brightness, we're going to hit the A button on the brightness screen until the screen turns completely black. And then once again, we're going to hit B twice. Alright, so the green little Bodemon flash there. So cool. We're going to go ahead and hit the B button. It's going to flash in red. And then we're going to hit B twice. And there we go. Now we're at the battery screen. From the battery screen, we're going to press both buttons simultaneously, and we're going to get a really weird noise. We're going to hit the B button twice. Okay, now we're at this screen. On this screen, we're going to hit A and B simultaneously again. And this is the magic screen. So right here, this is where we can go ahead and take our Infinite Tide DiM, and we're going to plug it on in. And it says it's normal. Great, glad to hear it's normal. So as long as it says normal, we're just going to hit the A button. But if it doesn't say normal, you're going to want to try all these steps again, just to be safe. So it does say normal right now, so I'm going to hit A. Makes a cool little sound, and then in a moment here, it should say OK. I'm not going to fast forward this part so you can see how long it takes in real time. There we go. So now it says OK. So we can proceed to the next step. And the next step is the last one. So we're just going to go ahead and hit B. We're on this screen. We're not going to hit anything else, but we are going to turn the device off. And at that point, we're going to remove our DiM. So let's see if it worked out. We're going to turn on our device. We're brought instantly to the time screen, so we know that we didn't factory reset. If we factory reset, we would have gotten a splash screen first. Gonna hit OK, it doesn't matter what time it is, hit OK. Okay, so there we go, so we have no Digimon on screen, and you saw before, we couldn't use the Infinite Tide DiM. Let's plug it in. And bam, there we go. So now it is working. Now, if you didn't do all the steps as described, then the DiM card may have only been half rewritten. Well, not rewritten. I don't know what exactly happens in the background, but you have to make sure you get to the last step that I showed you and then turn off the device. Even if you turn it off when it says OK in the step before that, the DiM won't be entirely ready to go. It'll be kind of halfway. I know it's weird. So make sure you follow every step exactly. And obviously this part right here takes about 50 seconds, but I'm just going to keep talking over this. So it really is very simple. So anybody can take their DiMs and they can disassociate them. So at that point, you can use them with another Vital Bracelet. So if you have 2 Vital Bracelets, which is something that they actually talk about in the app, like they're saying in the app, you can do multiple Vital Bracelets to one app. So why would you do that if you couldn't use the same DiMs in both? Well, there you go. Now you can have multiple Vital Bracelets, and look at that. DiM was accepted. I can remove it. I'm going to set my watch on my finger here. That'll work. And you can just use these freely between your Vital Bracelets, or in my case, me and my wife can use them freely between each other. There's no limitation at that point anymore. And since it's not even factory resetting, you're not losing any progress. Even if you were factory resetting, again, you should have backed up your Digimon before you did these steps, so you should be safe there. And there you go, we just hatched, and we've got a cute little new Pitchmon here on a device that previously could not get it because this DiM was locked to another device. And that's really all there is to it. So go through, check out the document I have listed in the description. Make sure you give it a good read before you attempt these steps. And if you do not have the same firmware as me, I will see if anyone else has a video, and if they do, I'll pin it as they comment in this one to show you how to do it on that particular firmware. Or I might see if anyone is able to give me some footage to use for a video on my end, or if you know of a video, definitely let me know in the comments below and I can share it around at that point. But there you go, very easy. The other firmware steps are even easier than this one. There's not as many steps in that process, so just again, make sure you are using the steps for the firmware that you have. If you do not have either of the firmwares listed in the doc, you may want to try doing those steps anyway. Just try out both, see if either one work for the firmware that you have. Again, remembering that you may risk factory resetting by performing either if you're on a different firmware. If there is another firmware that has a different method and we do find out what that method is, I will definitely make sure to update the doc and credit whoever is the one to find out that update in the future. But for now, that's all I'm going to go over with this, so give it a shot. If you've got DiMs that you need to transfer to a new Vital Bracelet, go for it. This is fantastic for those of you that do have multiple Vital Bracelets or multiple people with Vital Bracelets in your home. And yeah, until next time, bye.